get right into it, and so we'll not waste time. I mean, so much value has been given. I was in earlier when Tunde was speaking, then I listened to Steph, and I want to say thank you to Remy for this opportunity and for taking up the initiative to be able to, do this for us today. I'm just going to cut right to the chase because I would like to speak for about 15, 16 minutes and then take one or two questions, hopefully. And now, if anybody has known Remy for many years, you will know that the one word that he has always resounded is the word productivity. And inevitably, in any business without productivity, it's a waste of time because that is what we're actually, premising our success on. That if we're productive, that our revenue, the bottom line is able to increase as an organization. We're able to grow beyond being national companies to become international or even global organizations. So productivity cannot be understated in any way. But you and I have been around. I've been, in the workplace for literally post-university now for 20 years. And I can see that even after 20 years, with all the books on productivity, the coaches like Remy on productivity, that productivity is still a huge challenge where work, the place of work or business is concerned. And therefore, I wouldn't ask us to approach this, and I even like the direction that the speakers have taken. It can't be the conventional, because if it is, in another 20 years, we're probably going to be facing the same challenges if we don't change a few things. So what I would like to share with you, I'll start first and foremost by speaking about a few components of the ecosystem of productivity. That there are several things that make it up. And if you want to learn more about that, you should look at Remy's materials. He's shared many things and many of his colleagues in that regard. But there are 5 of them that I can actually speak about directly right now. There is the organization, or within the organization, that there are 2 components. There's the leadership of the organization, and then there are the employees who implement what the leaders have defined ahead of them. There are 2 key components, but they don't work in isolation. There is also the environment, and we've begun to speak about, the idea about remote working. What is remote working? Just a change of environment and adapting to new realities. That is the environment, part of the ecosystem. And our ability to be able to understand this reality and be able to adapt ourselves or adapt it for enhanced productivity to determine the kind of results we get inevitably. The other one that I think is also a key component are the capabilities. And we're talking about tools. I think somebody spoke about tools earlier. Tunde spoke about tools. We have the skills, we have the knowledge. The fact about it is that people are only as productive to the degree to which they know or what they are able to do. And so these are other dimensions. And the last dimension that I think is very critical is culture. Culture is very critical. I think, in my own estimation, most Nigerian and probably African countries or companies do not really look at this. They only begin to think about culture when there's a crisis in most instances. So these are the different dimensions. I'm not able to speak about these dimensions of the ecosystem, but I will focus largely more on the employees that I also speak to the employers of the businesses, because I think that a lot of what I've heard has also spoken to the employers, as it were. I'm going to speak about 3, in my own view, 3 capabilities that are required in the time that we are in that first and foremost employees can actually utilize, that will be able to ensure that they get the best. And let me say this, for employees, a few things are critical. Number one, is that they want to get a sense of relevance in anything that they're doing. Relevance is very key. Number 2, they want to record achievements, okay, in whatever they want to do. Number 3, they want to have a sense of fulfillment. And number 4, they want to be rewarded adequately. And these are 4 dimensions of things that I believe that every employee is looking out for. But you see, the wrong assumption that happened pre-COVID that was prevalent was the idea that the organization is meant to guarantee these outputs to you. But that leads me to the first thing I want to speak about, and which is the concept of ownership. That in this new normal that we call it, that both organizations, or people say, oh well, that my business is not doing well because of we're still recovering from COVID. Well, technically that can be correct, but there are people that have been able to recover faster. And I realized in being able to analyze them, a lot of them have a greater dimension of ownership. But let me stick with the employees first and foremost. I will say this to you. A lot of benefits to employees is tied to your promotion in the organization. but your promotion in the organization is tied to the value that you deliver within the organization. And so the concept or the idea of promotion policies that are tenure-based, that has become almost, is getting to the point where it's going to be questioned. So we have promotion meetings. So they say, okay, this person quarter on quarter has met this performance level, has been in the organization or been on this level for so long, but there's usually that extra factor that they're asking about to say, what has he done? What has she done? And then the argument is, but they've been doing their job. And I always like to say to people that when you are hired into the company, you are hired to do your job. So when you do your job, you don't deserve a promotion, you deserve your job. That is plain and simple. You might not like me for what I just said, but that's the reality. That promotion is recognition that you are adding value at a level way beyond what was hired or you are hired for. That if you begin to have perceived recognizable value, by the way, the same way they say beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and value is in the eye of the owner of the organization. You must understand the company you work with. What is value in MTN might not be in your own organization. So you must know if you are going to rise in that organization, you must know what value is without compromising your values. It's very critical. And you must be able to deliver value. I've been in the HR space before. I've been in promotion meetings in the past. And I've seen people that scored well, stayed long enough on the grade, not being recognized, and being replaced by somebody else who is still fresh, who is new, or we can trace the value that they brought, even if it is in the short term. So again, the key that differentiates people in being able to add value is called ownership. Ownership. The reason why I said it is because what is value usually comes by solving problems. Let me say this to you. If you have a problem in your health, okay, and you have gone to several doctors, the doctor that solves your problem becomes the recommendation that you will begin to make to any other person. Why? They have solved your problem. So the recommendation for promotion usually comes by somebody that has solved problems. Go and check this globally in every dimension, that people that are clearly adding value are in a better position to be recognized and to be rewarded for the value that are bringing. So it's okay, it's expected you do your job. It's expected you will do your job well, but you must look beyond doing your job to solving the problems. Because many jobs, I'm a job design expert, many jobs are designed based on the last strategy of the organization. HR has just not changed it, okay? Because it's a lot of work to do that. But if you understand that there's a problem that your CEO is thinking about, and if you can solve that problem, it brings you in the radar of that CEO. And if you, I don't know why people don't do it, but in our own client, people don't do things like negotiation. I have seen people, I've encouraged people based on the value they delivered to negotiate for better pay, negotiate for better levels and all that. And they have gotten it because the company recognizes the person speaking is valuable. People cannot afford to lose this value, all right? So I'm saying to you that you must therefore take ownership of your career. But the bigger way to do this is to take ownership within the organization that you're working in. Jimmy, something might be crossing your mind. Jimmy, what if I add value and they don't recognize my value? It is an industry. Your company is a player in an industry. If you add value to one, you can add value to all. That is the key. That is what is called job freedom or job security, where your relevance is not just within an organization, but is relevant to an industry. That's what I think people should aspire to actually become. So number one is ownership. Problems are always there. And the truth about it is that people are inherently selfish. If you understand a bit of psychology, you and I are concerned about what concerns you and I. Let us be real about that. And therefore, what we really pay attention to is what pays us. And so if the organization does not give room for some degree of ownership, being able to communicate and give a sense of shared belonging to people, you will find out that people will not feel committed to own any part of that business. Let me explain what that means to you. As a CEO of a growing business, you must be able to demonstrate to your people that this business is not just about you. When it's just about you, people will do only that which is required. When they understand that there is something in it for them, and you must keep your word. Because I know a lot of people that hear things like this and promise heaven and earth and deliver hell. No, You must not be that kind of CEO. You must, because people are driven to achieve what they want. There's a theory called Theory XY in psychology. And basically what it says that people will remain in an organization as long as what they want is being, the organization is able to offer that. And that the company will also keep you as long as what they want, you are delivering that. As long as it's a symbiotic relationship, people can actually have a lot more productivity. So number one is ownership. Check if you're an employee here, to what degree are you able to, or can you improve your ownership in the organization, your productivity about your life, the things that you have been productive in, your mind was there, your heart was there, productivity became evident. That's what I mean by ownership. Let me go to the next point. And that is leadership. Now, when I said leadership, I didn't speak about being a supervisor. I didn't even speak about having a leadership opportunity. Leadership does not require a leadership position. It is an attitude that takes responsibility to move things forward. So I'll give you one of the plainest examples. A lady walked into an organization one day and saw the receptionist always there with a book, where people come and it says, sign in here, and all that. And so she just says, let me have a conversation with the lady. How do you do? How are you doing? I've been here for 3 months. What are you doing in the organization? And the lady says, oh, well, when people call, I direct the phone call. Okay, great. When people come, I make them fill a form. And I call the person to let them know that somebody's around. Okay, so what are you doing? They are filling this logbook that is in front of you. And then she said, why don't you look at the logbook? What kind of people are always coming to the organization? Is it that it's more of personal? When you rule those places, you see personal, official. And in that organization, they saw that more of the requests are more personal than official. Immediately, it was that analysis that enabled them to now define policies that made people realize you cannot just be bringing your friends to come and visit you. As simple as that. It was also from there, in that analysis, which the girl eventually undertook ownership, that she was able to identify the kind of inquiries that people are making. It was now what led to an adjustment in the business strategy of the organization. No job is irrelevant. There is always a leadership opportunity for the person that would take responsibility to advance the organization. And I'm saying to you today, if you are in an organization, you head business, please take note of those that take leadership. People that I put, one thing that I did last year was that I made all my staff go and register companies, and then we ended their job with us and we made them sign a contract. The reason why? The fact about it is that today's employee most of them cannot only do one thing. Yes, they want to do risk management, but they also want to do music. Yes, they want to do something. And the fact about it is that they are actually able to deliver what I need when I need it and still have other interests they want to do. Now, the staff earn maybe even double of what they were earning last year. But I realized that their productivity has increased because now they are owners of their business. One of my staff has 7 staff under him. Do you get my point? So I call him 11 midnight. He does not handle me like his staff any longer. He handles me because he's committed to that. Now, it is my understanding of this that enabled me to be able to institute a policy like that within the organization. Now, there must be the culture for you to do it. Don't copy the action without the culture. It will fail inevitably. But now, a lot of things have happened. I can tell them, see, listen to me, if you don't deliver, I'm going to get the next consultant. I'm not angry with you. We have our standard of operations. We have our SLA, service level agreements. You don't meet it, you are the one that you are doing yourself. So these are realities that we have to begin to get to. So leadership is very critical. There are always problems. But let me say this to you, the leader is the one that takes responsibility for the problem. That is why we are in a nation of Nigeria where they're taking light. You should bring my light. They'll soon bring by the light. But the fact about it is that it's because of people in leadership that are not leaders. Again, I ask companies, you have put somebody as a leader of others, but the person does not have demonstrable leadership capacity. You are the one doing yourself. So we must make sure that we're able to help our people in that regard. Okay? So now, let me say something about leadership. Leadership requires 4 Ds. Number 1, is that you must define your expectation to your people. Don't expect your people to know what is right. You must define what is right in your organization instead of defining competency, defining the culture and all that. Define your expectations. Number one. Number two, demonstrate your expectation as the leadership in the organization. What you expect from people, you must demonstrate it first and foremost. Number three is that you must develop an effective measurement system, reward and measurement system in your organization for you to be able to drive a system, drive a culture within your business. And number four is that you must disciple your people. I know that that's a word that is usually used in the faith-based organizations, but the concept of discipleship is one that Jack Welch understood, that the people that are best suited to lead your business are those that are grown in your business. Look, statistics lets you know that many companies hire leaders from outside. Many of them are hired based on their exploits, but they come with their culture. So when they come with their culture, there's a culture crash that leads to lack of productivity. Please, companies need to begin to your next CEO, which you should be thinking about, should be people that you can groom in your business. So create the right environment, correct them, empower them, train them, coach them. These things are very critical. Don't just expect them to do what is right. So number one is ownership. Number two is leadership. Number three is something that I think is very powerful, is something I call awareness. And what is awareness? Being aware. You know that many people are not aware of what is going on in the organization. Let me speak to employees for a minute. There are things going on in your company that you don't know about. The problem is that if they go on and they go through, you are going to become a victim of those things. What I mean by that, in essence, is that there are companies that right now are having strategic conversations with some partners that they want to begin to move into a new country, move into a new field. If they're going to move into a francophone country, you have been stuck on the same level. If you could only go to Alliance Francaise for the next 3 months, you will learn basic French. You can actually come into the radar to be posted in that direction, but you will not be posted or considered because all you have is your skill, but you cannot use it in a francophone nation. So the awareness of what is going on, number one, in your department, number two, in your organization, number three, in your industry, number four, in your nation, as it impacts your job, is very critical. A lot of people are not aware. A lot of people are going to work to do their work or do their job, but they're not aware of what's going on. See, I say this way, there's a difference between what is happening and what is going on. Many times, what is in the news is what is happening. But before the news, what was going on was what produced what is happening. So that's where you will hear things like, there are those that make things happen, there are those that watch things happen, there are those that wonder what happened. So the concept, I was in HR, I had a recruitment there for Bank PHP. Anybody could see the sign or the handwriting on the wall that something was going to happen to the organization in a couple of months. People were still going around, taking loans, doing things and all that. And when the crisis came in 2009, we were not prepared for it. The reason why is that things were going on, but what was happening was what was driving the decision making. I'll put it this way, there are good things that are going on, there are bad things that are going on. Some companies are struggling to pay. I consult for one or two companies that they are even in a situation now that they have to readjust their business plan, and therefore they have to close down some business units because it's no longer sustainable in this season. But this is the thing, the head of the business unit is not in that meeting. And after the meeting, the head of the business unit will not ask questions. Oh, what is going on? What's the direction? Somebody comes and said to me one day, oh, my company outsourced my role. I'm angry with them. I said, why are you angry with them? It is you that should have created a company to go and meet your company to tell them, you don't need to have full-time staff. Outsource it to me. And that's what I mean by being aware. And there are three things about being aware. Number one is your speed to being aware. Everybody is always aware, but when you are aware determines how soon you are able to respond to it. Some people are aware. I mean, what is going on online right now in Nigeria? Some people have been aware of some back-end things, and they're going to ban, they're going to do this and all that. But hey, that's another story for another day. Number one is your speed of response. Number two is your ability to analyze what you are aware of. Because a lot of times, some people like companies, they hear the news, but they don't understand the implications of all of these things. So the ability to analyze what you are aware of in your department. I mean, for example, now, they tell you that if you flog data hard enough to speak to you, what they are trying to say is not just gathering data, it is data analysis and interpretation. That's what I'm talking about. So the awareness and the interpretation, which will now lead to relevant action, is what's going to keep you relevant in your organization or your industry. The last one is that not only should you be able to speed to become aware of what is going on. Number two is not just to be to analyze it. It's number three to take advantage. There is always a next step. Let me say this to you. This is a season where you end up in your career is up to you at the end of the day. It is up to you. It's no longer, you can't blame any company. You can't come and say, my company did not do this. My company did not do that. Now, companies, do your best. You will always have the output for your productivity will be dependent on the quality of ecosystem you create where your staff are. Great ideas, 100% ideas with 20% staff will give you 20% results. There is no magic around that. Is that okay? So it's important that the companies play their part, but it's also critical that the organizations themselves are able to play their part. So in summary, let me go over it again. Number one, the ecosystem that's required for productivity, from leadership to the employees in the environment, the capabilities and the culture. Look at these areas and make adjustments in that regard. There are three things that I think of competencies required for you to advance as an employee or even as a business owner in your industry. The same model can be applied to owners of businesses in industries. Number one, like I said, is ownership. Take ownership. Number two is leadership. In other words, begin to find solutions to problems that pervade your company or are prevalent in your industry. And the last one is what I spoke about just now, which is about awareness. Become aware. You have to create systems that allow you to respond to opportunity, respond to crisis faster than we are currently doing, because the rate of change globally will only accelerate. What we saw between last year and this year is little to what is about to happen. So the faster we are in being able to respond, the better.
I don't have any other one.
Thank you very much.
Where is it? No, that one is your brother.
Thank you so much.
Olubukola, please help us to mute.
Thank you so much, sir. That was Arnie, please, can you say that again? We can't hear you. Can you please mute Olubukola?
Yes, Stephanie, please.
Please, can you mute your device? Thank you.
Let me mute my device.
Arnie's network is having issues. I don't know if it's his network or mine.
Go ahead.
If you can hear me clearly, thank you so much.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead. Thank you very much.
All right. So thank you so much, Jimmy, for that fantastic talk. Do we have any question for him before he leaves? Anyone with any question? Okay, so we would like to know what role exactly, when trying to create a balance between the employer and the employee, what role does creating a competitive environment do at the workplace? Does it have more advantage or disadvantage?
Well, again, how things are applied in companies are dependent on the way things are set up. So the concept or the idea about having policies, processes in place that will guard the operations of people would let you know whether a company would be competitive enough within its industry or not. This is what I'm trying to say to you. I can't say to you that copying a set of policies from one company to the other can make it more competitive. You can read something in Harvard Business Review today, and based on that, you now go and now set up, new things, but you don't understand it, or you don't have the culture to drive. That's why I spoke about the ecosystem. There are things that contribute to output. So this is the thing that is there. And sometimes people always wonder why you want to bring an external person, because the way that we're actually wired, things can be there and it's only somebody outside that can see it. And that's why for me as a CEO, every quarter, I actually engage with somebody outside the business to look at my business. I do that intentionally because I realize because I'm inside, there are some things I will not see. I understand that. Okay? I'm running an agenda, so I must become a lot better. So again, when it comes to the company, your policies must be able, it's not, you don't design policies, for example, because you want to threaten some people or just stop something. No. In their real essence, there will be some policies that address the things that reduce productivity. But the concept of policy is not a document of, it's not a law document. It is an enablement document. So that's what I said about, you see, most people, a policy document, the part that is ever looked at is the one about criticism, killing people, or this is what the policy says, this is what the policy says. Your policy should be designed to enable people, okay? That's one. Your processes, even the people that you hire. I always say this to you. Let me say this, and I can say this freely. The problem I have as a consultant is this. Listen to this. The problem of the company usually calls me to that there's a problem in his company. Do you hear that? The problem of the company calls me, the consultant, to tell me that there's a problem in his company and I should come and solve the problem. The only problem is I cannot tell the problem is the problem. What do I mean by that? The CEO is the problem of every company. Yes, I'm the problem of my own organization. If my capacity to think and make decisions is restricted or is low, you will see it evident in the organization. If I'm hiring people on an emotional premise and I'm not able to deal with things properly, maybe I'm not firing people anyhow and all that, it is me, it's not the organization. So every company is a reflection of the leadership, in essence. So until I get better, the company does not get better. Now, nobody will have it in full. So you are the leader, then you have your leadership team. The worst thing you want are people that just say yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, and their brain is off. No, I'm not saying you should critique what I'm saying, but if there's something to critique, you should be able to speak up. In my own company, I encourage where staff can disagree with me. In many companies, to disagree towards an agreement at the end of the day. So you see, there are so many elements where this is concerned. However, we'll just hang it here, and you should be able to design the organization to be an enabling environment, whether it's from a policy, processing, structure, whatever it is you want to do. I think that will help.